Good evening, everyone. Voir dire is broadly known as an oath that has been given to jurors for hundreds of years. Most individuals have heard of a phrase along the lines of, "Do you swear that the evidence you give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?" This is an oath that is pledged when one stands before a jury. However, voir dire in the greater legal sense in the U.S. entails the selection of a jury. In this sense, the term is referring to the processes that take place in the vetting process of selecting jurors that trial lawyers find unfit to serve for their case. Its initiation in the U.S. Was during the time of British rule in the colonies. Officials would stack a jury with jurors that they knew would convict the defendant. Since both sides have a chance of addressing the full panel of jurors at one time, voir dire is a fair way for each side to select jurors, as opposed to one entity who might be biased in one direction to select all of the jurors. Peremptory strikes are the first line of offense for trial lawyers in the process. A peremptory challenge may be suggested by individuals on the lawyer's team or someone who they have working with them, such as a psychologist or a psychiatrist, to evaluate the jurors. A peremptory strike may be due to something as minor as a hunch, or as an easily definable bias on simple information learned or obtained about a potential juror. Each side gets an equal number of peremptory strikes, although the number varies based on the specific jurisdiction of the case and the specific crime that was committed. Discretionary strikes are more specific in nature. A call for a discretionary strike will result when a juror willingly admits that they won't judge the case fairly. There could be a couple reasons for that, but it's usually a easily definable statement that they made or evidence was produced about that juror. This action is more likely to occur if lawyers get individual members of the jury to elaborate on their positions, or just comes out and speak about their general life during the voir dire process. However, speaking to one juror more than another, or when they specifically hammer on one juror, it can lead to negative impressions being felt by the remaining jurors, and trial lawyers may choose not to do that because it would be counterintuitive to their cause. Voir dire serves its purpose in the sense that it's not one body selecting the jury. Therefore, bias is removed from one element of sentencing, and it's shifted into two entities, the defense and the prosecution, who are trying to defend criminal law in their own regard. If you looked at it in terms of like a scale, voir dire is much fairer than a system that did not employ it. However, if you look at it based on individual components that go into each side's selection process, it does seem more like cherry picking and could lead to a jury that is not of one's peers, but of hand-picked individuals who serve as a means to an end. As an example, excluding someone who has had a pet that they had to put down before serving the trial of a doctor who performs or who had performed doctor-assisted suicide, which was the same example they gave in the Emory School of Law video, would make sense in terms of a prosecutor or a defense attorney, but it wouldn't seem fair if you truly supported having a jury of one's peers. You would want it to include people that show sympathy and at least some respect. The collective mind of a community is going to vary to some degree. That being said, I can see an argument that in the courtrooms in some jurisdictions in some counties, a random selection of jurors could be very biased in one direction. If I were to make some improvements in the current system, personally, I would limit the number of peremptory challenges available to each side. Now, I know they said that it can be anywhere from 6 to 10, but even that does seem kind of like a lot. Personally, I've been excused from jury duty every year, each 2 years in the last 10 years. And as far as I can tell, it's just based on either luck or just my base demographics, just age, sex, race, I guess. And I've been excused. I've never had to actually show up. I've only called and been excused over the period of a week or the first day. And one of the reasons why I could see why they would want to excuse someone like me is they would just believe that I wouldn't want to convict a defendant. A defendant is only guaranteed a fair jury, a perfect jury, in the sense I think that this question is asking here, is that it would be one that's extremely large and diverse, consisting of moderately educated individuals, and where their determination of guilt is similar to that of kind of a poll, I guess. A perfect jury in terms of one side of the legal teams is one that's conducive to proving the actus reus and mens rea in the mind of the jurors. This is why both sides get to participate in voir dire. Otherwise, perfect juries would form, such as those of an oppressive and tyrannical rule. I think that the quote-unquote perfect jury is one that is for a more oppressive rule, because they would be perfect to execute a determination of guilt and guilt only. So, thank you, and have a good night.